Alright people, now that little Ronnie D has finally thrown his hat into the ring after a campaign launch that had all the glitch and glam of a frickin' Bethesda title, we need to discuss what on earth was the point of all of this and where is it going to go from here. So, firstly, a bare-bone political lesson. This is my audience, so I will assume you lot are not brain-dead Neanderthals and I can gloss over some of the basics, but here is the skinny of the situation as presented to us by Colonel Douglas McGregor. Colonel, you have the floor.
Why? Well, you've got a lot of people on the Hill that think their job is one and only one thing: spend money. If I were to walk you around the House of Representatives in particular, and I think to a large extent the Senate as well, everybody would tell you, listen, you got to understand something. Our job here is to spend money. That's our job. If we don't spend money, then we don't have a job. Well, that's also tied to re-election and sustaining investments in places and things that benefit your constituents. Also involves spending heavily to benefit your donors. And I like to say that we really have donor government now. You go back to Ralph Nader all through the 90s, he was trying to tell everybody, Washington's occupied territory, the corporations own everything. Well, I would say right now, the donors govern your country. You have open borders. Is that because we all voted on a referendum to open our borders and admit anybody who wants to come in? Of course not. But donors want to do that. Some of those people are involved with the Chamber of Commerce. Some of those are in industries. They want cheap labor. Some of it has to do with corruption and the drug trade and illegal human trafficking, I'm sure, all of those things. So what I'm trying to get across is that the notion that you're spending explicitly for a military capability is false.
Wise words indeed. We like bluntness here, people. Now, keep the following in mind. There is no such thing as Democrats or Republicans. And there hasn't been for quite some time, one could argue well over a century in fact. The uniparty, deep state, shadow government, whatever you want to call them, those who manipulate the power structure, they do not have a political ideology. Their only concern is getting in power anything that can be used for their benefit. The Democrat versus Republican distinction for them is moot. That kind of petty squabbling is for you, the peasantry, to keep you engaged in pointless bickering while they make off with all the bloody money. If you're constantly focused on who the Democrats did this or who the Republicans did that, they will be one step ahead of you, always because you are focusing on the noise. Get this through your head, Americans. No one from Washington is going to rescue you from this hell your country is currently descending into, and I will bet my life on that. If you see Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, and Biden all hug and praise Zelensky, and you're still stuck on that Democrat versus Republicans mentality, you're far too stupid to engage in any serious political discussion. I don't know what to tell you. Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell have more in common with each other than any of you outside of DC. That hellhole is the mecca of Western corruption, which brings us neatly to Trump and DeSantis. Now, as you're all aware, I'm no fan of democracy and republics because they're cringing gay. However, in this scenario, gun to my head, Trump and only Trump. DeSantis is 44. Without Trump, he wouldn't even be governor of Florida. Won re-election handedly. I imagine there's many people who want him to stay on as governor of Florida, which is why he won with such a large margin. Look at this, September of 2021. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says speculation about him running for president in 2024 is purely manufactured. On Tuesday, dismissed rumors about a 2024 presidential run. I hear all of this stuff and honestly, it's nonsense, he said during a press conference. What a reliable and honest fellow he is turning out to be. Pray tell, why the change of heart, little Ron? So he's either a liar who's only used the governorship as a stepping stone for the presidency, very career politician, and quite a scummy move to his Floridian constituents, I might add, or he's being held hostage by some other forces, or maybe bribed maybe, which means he isn't his own man and he won't govern like Trump either way. Let me tell you all something, Ron DeSantis' fans are even stupider than Biden's. His fans, majority being black and female, I expect them to be brainless idiots, but DeSantis fans? You claim to be smarter, but you can't see through this bullshit? That makes you worse, in my opinion. Right-wingers are thick as planks, I'm telling you. Between the failed Twitter launch, Murdoch of the now-neutered Fox backing him, he's praised by the old Republican establishment and bankrolled by them, in fact, Him lying about running for president, he bungled the Bragg case with Trump in New York, he parroted Trump's isolationist talk of Russia and Ukraine being a territorial dispute, don't get involved, and then his donors came in and went, "Whoosh, you will support war, you little bitch boy. Oh yes, masters, I'm terribly sorry." And then he buckled, like the little bitch that he is. And then he parroted the neocon line of Putin being an authoritarian with a petrol station. Giant red flag, that is. DeSantis is a Trojan horse, a neocon snake, designed to bring in those pesky MAGA rebels back onto the never-ending interventionist warpath. Someone tell me, where do you see the integrity in this thing? If you think DeSantis is going to be more Trump than Trump himself whilst being funded by all the money and interest Trump vanquished in the 2016 cycle, you're a gullible fucking moron. Like, what you're going to see from now till 2024 is every faux right-wing populist shithead crawling out from under the woodwork and simping their f***ing balls off for this clown, and it's going to be a disaster. And by the way, I will call out everyone who simps for this little boy. I don't care who the hell you are. Whether it be that Aussie bin from New York Post, Miranda Devine, Kurt Schlichter from Town Hall, pro-NATO warmonger Douglas Murray, those pseudo-Christian jackasses from the Babylon Bee, who've all been taking money from the DeSantis camp. I wonder why they're pro-DeSantis. Everyone in the Daily Wire, hell, even Elon Musk. I'll give him credit for the way he's handling Twitter. You know, he did mostly restore some people, after all, and the community notes are mint, by the way. But if you support DeSantis, not bollocks to him. I do think he's incredibly naive and idealistic about the world at large. Having said that, though, like I pointed out in the last video, and Aiden said this as well, if you are gonna pick some people who would most likely play some 40 chess moves, it's gonna be him and Trump. I'm just saying. And by the way, has anybody else noticed Trump's most ardent supporters are not Republicans? Hell, the biggest critics of the Republican Party are Trump's own supporters. And most importantly, that being the case, they are not party loyalists. Here's a gamble from those cretins. Very simple to understand, even an idiot like me can grasp it, hence why I'm explaining it. But anyway, they can say whatever the hell they want, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to enthusiasm, whether that be positive or negative. Biden is basically dead, but they will claim Trump is so toxic that he can spur the Democratic base into actually voting for someone that's literally done nothing positive during their entire political career, never mind the hellscape of a presidency, and DeSantis, whilst lacking enthusiasm, wouldn't stir nearly as much support as a Trump headliner, but won't spur the animosity of the Democratic base into a fervor either. Let me explain why that is wishful thinking bullshit. Trump is over 30 points ahead. DeSantis has proven himself to be a woeful amateur of a campaigner. Pretty sure he had more support when he hadn't officially even declared he was going to run yet. Hell, the Twitter launch was such a disaster. A couple of Republicans pulled their support away and decided to back Trump instead due to DeSantis' rookie incompetence. Secondly, what on earth are you going to do to best Trump in any way? What is your path to victory? You're boring as hell, boy. Your platforms are largely the same. So what's left here? You're going to go to the right of Trump in the primaries, look more extreme than in the general run back to the middle to win the moderates, which is going to further piss off all the MAGA fans you've already pissed off to be Trump, and yet you have to court them back to have any hopes of actually winning the general. There are people who are actually insane and stupid enough to think that is somehow a viable strategy. Oh, and he will somehow get more done, whatever the hell that means. Stupid bastard can't even launch a campaign effectively with all the neocon money in the world, but he can totally be as independent as Trump and navigate the federal government and implement Trump's agenda better than Trump himself could, because Trump's personality and some stupid bullshit. Again, there are people who are actually insane and stupid enough to think that that is a winning formula. Not only that, they have shown repeatedly that they do not understand why people are backing Trump. It's not about policies. It's not a gamble. He's the incumbent. They already know what he's going to do. It's that he's got years of vengeful rage built up inside of him, and they want the ball. They don't want some pencil-like administrator. No. They want a warrior. They want an assassin. They want a tank to roll in there with an iron fist and say, every bureaucrat who opposes me, I will turn you into roadkill. That is Trump's selling point. If you are not advocating for putting every bureaucrat in the frickin' crosshairs, you have no shot in hell of getting into the White House, no pun intended. Do you think some dry-ass career politician dweeb like DeSantis is going to do any of that? Hell no. This is where Trump has the advantage, by the way. He has a legion of energized right-wing auteurs who will go to war for him. And because DeSantis is sloshed by neocon Inc. funds, they will turn over every little freaking nook and cranny and expose him as the bought-off reincarnation of the boomer neocons that he is. Now, having said all that, politics is all theater, and the elusive theater of choice must continue. The show must go on, as they say. And in this particular time, we are going right back to 2016 because the left-wing flavor of the uniparty, like the DeSantis neocon staffers, all think Trump is more beatable in general. Hell, I don't know why. So look out for the mainstream lefties propping up Trump and slamming DeSantis, calling him a loser who Trump will more. It's already happening, actually. The people who are backing DeSantis, they're uniparty stooges. Again, they don't have any political ideology. They care about who they can buy off and who can represent their interests in the government apparatus. No more, no less. So if you ever wonder why certain people are running and you know they have no shot in hell of winning, it's either some combination of getting money, trying to get a role in the next administration, or being used to drag support away from the two main candidates. It's never as black and white and simply backing the winning horse. If Biden won, do you think any of these people will give a damn? No. If it's DeSantis versus whoever, aside from RFK possibly, they will get a bored-off uniparty puppet either way. It's rather ironic DeSantis' initials are R&D. Fitting symbolism now, isn't it? But anyway, I shall leave you all with the words of blonde bombshell Megyn Kelly.
He didn't even tap into the righteous anger so many of us are feeling that has inspired many of his policies in Florida. Maybe he doesn't have that gene. Maybe he's just a pen and paper guy who will pass the right legislation, and that's enough of a blessing. But he is up against a man whose voters love him, who is up over DeSantis right now by anywhere from 30 to 45 points, and who has the advantage of already having been a sitting president. It is true adoration, loyalty, and love between Donald Trump and his base voters, the ones DeSantis has been trying to woo. Tearing them away with nice policy and Twitter isn't going to work.